He stood on the edge of the ancient city, eyes burning with silent rage, as the whispers of betrayal and injustice echoed through the streets where kings played gods and the powerless were silenced. Babylon was not just a city of wealth and wisdom. It was a place where revenge grew in the shadows, where a single act of cruelty could twist fate into something darker than any myth. Behind the glittering walls lay stories no one dared to speak, stories of rulers who hid sorrow behind beauty, stories of love crushed by ambition, and of justice stolen by power. And in the heart of that silence rose the Hanging Gardens, not as a gift of love, as legends say, but as a weapon of pride, a symbol of power built on suffering. What if the wonder of the world itself was born not from love, but from vengeance? In the chronicles of history, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon have been praised as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Described as breathtaking terraces filled with exotic trees and flowing water that seem to defy nature itself. Yet hidden beneath the beauty of the tale lies a darker truth rarely spoken. A tale not of love but of control, not of kindness but of arrogance. As stories tell of a king who built the gardens for his queen to ease her sorrow, another voice whispers of injustice in the foundation. Of slaves whose hands bled to raise the paradise, of people whose cries vanished under the sound of rushing water. For every vine that grew there was a secret buried. For every flower that bloomed there was a silence forced. Was the garden a wonder? Or was it a mask covering pain and betrayal carved into stone? The story begins with a ruler whose ambition stretched beyond the walls of his empire. A man who desired not only to command armies, but to command the very elements of nature. He looked upon his city with pride, yet within his heart lived the shadows of resentment and fear. Whispers of rebellion moved among the common people, whispers that spoke of hunger, of injustice, of lives crushed beneath the weight of royal decisions. To silence these voices, he decided to create a marvel that would bend attention away from misery and toward glory. He ordered the construction of the Hanging Gardens, claiming it was a gift of love for his queen. Yet those who labored beneath the burning sun knew it was never for love, it was for dominance. They carried stones heavier than their hopes. They dragged water from distant rivers while their families starved. And they built beauty while drowning in despair. Every step of the construction was marked not by devotion, but by punishment, for anyone who faltered faced cruelty that fed the king's thirst for control. The gardens rose tier upon tier, and to the world they looked like paradise. But to those who toiled they were chains, chains woven from flowers and vines. Legends tell that when the queen smiled at the sight of her homeland recreated in stone and greenery, the people cried not with joy but with grief, for their pain had been hidden behind the illusion of love. Some say the gardens were watered by complex machines and channels, but others whispered they were watered by tears, the tears of thousands forced into silence. And yet beneath the beauty there was something more sinister, for power once built on injustice cannot stand without consequences. In the silence of night, a servant, broken by loss, sought revenge. He had watched his brother beaten to death during the construction. He had seen children starve while gold was spent on plants, and he swore that the garden would one day fall. As the king admired his creation, as he basked in glory, the seeds of vengeance had already been planted, and the true question remained, not whether the garden was real, but whether it was cursed. Some historians claim the gardens never existed, that they were only a tale written to magnify Babylon's greatness. But others believe they did exist and were later destroyed by war, earthquakes, or neglect. Yet in either version, one truth remains. Behind every wonder there is always a cost. Whether in fact or in legend, the Hanging Gardens carry the weight of injustice, a reminder that beauty built on suffering can never escape the shadow of revenge. And so the mystery lingers like a whisper carried through time. Was the Hanging Garden of Babylon a dream painted by poets or a reality born from pain? The king who sought to control destiny is long gone, his empire turned to dust. But the story of his pride and the silent suffering behind it still lives. If the gardens existed, they stood not as a gift of love, but as a monument of power built on the broken shoulders of the innocent. And if they never existed, then perhaps that too is fitting. For lies crafted to hide cruelty rarely endure. What remains is the lesson that beauty created through injustice is only an illusion, destined to fade, while the memory of pain lingers forever. The Hanging Gardens may or may not have stood in Babylon, but the shadow of betrayal they represent will never vanish.